Oh, hey, I was just looking at a new book I got in today. Welcome back to another fun-filled episode of TED Talk Stamps. I am your host, Ted the Talking Stamp Collector. It's probably safe to say that when you began collecting stamps, you were in one of two camps. Either you collected strictly the stamps of your own home country, or you were a worldwide collector and just collected whatever caught your eye. As time goes on, though, you may either want to expand from your home country, or if you're a worldwide collector, you may just want to focus in on either a region or a specific country. So today, that's what I'm going to talk about, the joy of collecting Ukraine and why you might want to consider it as a collecting interest. For those of you looking for a new country to collect, or if you just want to see some eye candy from another country that you don't collect, I present to you here the stamps of Ukraine. Now, the first thing we'll have to establish from the outset is how you say the name of the country. Okay, it's not the Ukraine. It is simply Ukraine. Like you don't say the Australia or the Canada. It is Ukraine. And here's another notable little factoid. While the countries east of Germany and Austria always get lumped together into a geographical region called Eastern Europe, the fact is that a number of countries, including Poland, Lithuania, and Belarus, can lay claim to being at the geographical center of Europe. And by one particular measurement, the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv lies at that central point. One point, though, that is not in dispute is that Ukraine, either with or without the Crimean Peninsula, is the second largest country in Europe after Russia. If you include Crimea, it is 9% larger than the number 3 country, France, and for you Americans out there, it is 11% smaller than the state of Texas. Now, Ukraine postage stamp history begins only in 1918 with the collapse of the Russian Empire. In July of 1918, this set of 5 stamps was issued for the new republic. The green 40 shahiv value features the trident, which was adopted to become the symbolic device of the Ukrainian Republic. And the 30 shahiv ultramarine stamp features a Ukrainian girl as the allegorical representation of Ukraine. Over the next couple of years, as civil war tore apart the country, the stamp production was put on hold and excess Russian inventory was overprinted with the trident to be used as postage stamps. And in November of 1920, as Russian forces took control, Ukraine once again lost its independence and was subsumed into the new Soviet Union. But in 1992, with the collapse of the Soviet Union, Ukraine once again declared its independence and resumed issuing its own postage stamps. And it's these modern postage stamps of Ukraine which will take up the rest of this video. Now, one thing that makes Ukraine an attractive country to collect is its moderate stamp issuing policy. Over its first 20 years, they averaged only 52 stamps per year, and even in the last full year for which I have a count, 2015, they issued only 59 stamps. Now that compares with Canada at 67 stamps for 2015, USA at 74, Australia at 101, Great Britain at 130, and France with a whopping 231 stamps that year. And if you like to collect stamps that have some relevance to the country which issued them, well, Ukraine has that in spades. Ukraine has a rich and varied history that's reflected in its postage stamps. And while the average person would be hard-pressed to name any famous Ukrainians off the top of their heads, you will recognize a few names, I'm sure, like the writer Nikolai Gogol, whose novel Taras Bulba was adapted into a 1962 American movie starring Yul Brynner and Tony Curtis, etc., etc., etc. You'll also recognize Olympic figure skater Oksana Bayul and classical pianist Sviatoslav Richter. Speaking of Taras Bulba, which is a costume drama set in the 16th century about Ukrainian Cossacks fighting the Poles, the first stamp issued by the modern Ukraine in 1992 was in commemoration of the 500th anniversary of the Cossacks in Ukraine. At the same time, they issued a stamp noting the centennial of Ukrainian emigration to Canada. The first permanent or definitive series came in June and consisted of 8 values, each picturing the allegorical Ukraine girl first seen in the 1918 issue. And in August, they issued this stamp noting the first anniversary of their independence from the Soviet Union. Historically, Ukraine has been known as the breadbasket of Europe because of its abundance of wheat exports. That legacy is recalled in this miniature sheet from 2013. The Ukrainian diet is also high in root vegetables, including beets, from which is made their national dish, beet soup or borscht, which can be seen here in this Europa issue for 2005. In music, literature, and art, Ukraine is not lacking in subjects either. If you like to use stamps as a springboard for jumping into a country's history, well, Ukraine will be a perfect country to collect. When it comes to showing off their cultural heritage, the stamp designs become especially colorful and attractive. Ukrainian Easter eggs are known worldwide, and though decorated eggs are also made in Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Romania, they are all called Ukrainian eggs. In 2001, Ukraine Post started an annual series of miniature sheets showing regional costumes. Each sheet of 6 displayed a pair of stamps from each of 3 regions. This series continued for 8 years. Indigenous flora and fauna all get face time on Ukrainian stamps also. In this set showing native orchids, the red book in the upper left corner indicates that the species is listed in the IONC Red Book as a threatened or endangered species. This pair showing a crane and a peregrine falcon can also be seen to be listed in the Red Book. There's much more to Ukrainian postage stamps than I can talk about in one video. For instance, I haven't even touched upon science and technology, religion, or even the natural scenic wonders of the country. But stay tuned through the end of the video for a slideshow presentation of many more beautiful stamps of this fascinating land. In the meantime, I hope I've piqued your interest in the postage stamps of Ukraine, and I hope you'll subscribe and also click on the bell icon in order to be notified of future episodes as they go up. Until next time, this is Ted the Talking Stamp Collector reminding you, don't be a part cat, be a whole human. See you next time.